Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Malia Hampton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Kieran Gabriel. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depth of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard their record, which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
(4140) Private Percy Aylmer Beauchamp, 50th Battalion, KIA 2nd of April 1917. Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Percy Aylmer Beauchamp. Percy Beauchamp was born on the 25th of October 1894, the youngest son of Lindsay and Albertina Beauchamp of Adelaide, South Australia. He was educated at the local school in Rose Park and went on to work as a French polisher. He was a Sunday school teacher and a member of the choir at St Bartholomew's Church in Norwood, and was reportedly well liked by his comrades. Beauchamp served as a naval cadet in the years before the war and only missed one drill during 6 years of service. On the outbreak of war in August 1914, Beauchamp was called on as a naval cadet to undertake sentry duty in and around the docks of Port Adelaide. He left to enlist in the Australian Imperial Force in early April 1915, and when news of the Gallipoli landings came through, he was already in military camp undertaking training in preparation to go to war. Several months elapsed before Beauchamp departed Australia. A friend from the 50th Battalion later wrote that Percy had gone to Sydney for training with the Naval Bridging Training Team and was part of a group known as the Mysterious 33. Nothing is known of Beauchamp's experience during these months, nor what the Mysterious 33 might refer to. Private Percy Beauchamp left Australia with reinforcements from the 10th Battalion on the 11th of January 1916 aboard the troop ship Border. He was first sent to Egypt, where the AIF was undergoing a period of expansion and reorganisation following the evacuation from Gallipoli. As part of this process, he was transferred to the 50th Battalion. He continued training with the 50th for a number of weeks before leaving for service on the Western Front in June 1916. The 50th Battalion's first major operation on the Western Front took place on the 12th of August 1916, when it attacked German trenches near Mouquet Farm, north of the French village of Pozières. It would make another attack 2 days later, both of which produced minimal success for a high number of casualties. The battalion spent nearly a week under extremely heavy shell fire and suffered many casualties. Private Beauchamp came through his first experience of trench battle unscathed, but after a few weeks later, burnt his foot, probably while cooking in the field. His injuries were bad enough that he was sent to a hospital in England to recover, and went on to spend the bitterly cold winter of 1916 to 1917 in training camps on Salisbury Downs. Percy Beauchamp returned to France in late March 1917, rejoining his battalion on the 1st of April. Around this time, the German army was withdrawing to a heavily fortified series of trenches, which would later become known as the Hindenburg Line. The 50th Battalion was one of a number of battalions to follow up this withdrawal, looking for a point to attack the enemy. On the 2nd of April 1917, the day after Beauchamp rejoined the 50th Battalion, the battalion took part in an operation to capture an outpost on the Hindenburg Line, the French village of Noiré. The 50th advanced on the village from the south, encountering heavy enemy machine gun fire as they went. The village was captured, but at a heavy cost. The 50th Battalion suffered more than 350 casualties, more than a third of its strength during the attack. One of those killed was Private Percy Beauchamp. His body was found by his comrades after the battle, who took his disc and paybook before arranging to bury his body. Beauchamp was initially buried in a small cemetery not far from where he fell, with other casualties from the battle. In years later, the war, the cemetery was obliterated by further fighting, and Beauchamp's grave was lost. Today, he is commemorated in the special memorial at Noiré Australian Cemetery under the words, "Their glory shall not be blotted out." He was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is one but many stories of service, sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Percy Aylmer Beauchamp, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you a very good evening.